Connecting to cloud seven. Hello, beautiful women. We have officially just clicked record. We have welcomed you all in, and I just wanted to hit record and welcome you in and let you know and state to the obvious straight away that Keys is actually not in our call tonight. And I was just sharing and thought I'd jump in and record and hit it straight away. The beauty of the decision we came to with that, and in our sharing and what's been happening behind the scenes for us in partnership. And it's been a really big thing. I don't know if you've seen on our socials the way we've been sharing about the fact that it's about us really leaning into the initiation of no performing, no proving, no pretending. And what does that look like to get honest with ourselves repeatedly about the ways we are pushing outside of ourselves, the ways we're performing, the ways we're contorting, the ways, like we are going to discuss tonight in relationship, we are controlling because we don't trust. And in being in this space of we want to be in the initiation and in the valley with the women we're serving, and not being this idea of we're on the pedestal and we're coaches, they've got it all worked out. We are constantly in like, how can we be more human? So the decision was made that Keys is not going to join the call tonight because she is moving through her own stuff, and her communication with me was this is what's happening for me. And if I didn't have to perform and pretend and prove, I would love to trust you that you can lead this tonight and I can be with my kids and my family and where I need to be. And I was like, beautiful, absolutely yes, because this is why we've chosen partnership. This is why we've done this. We are women who have been in business for years on our own. And there is this exhaustion amongst a lot of women doing business as the solopreneur. You know, we get out of one system and we step into another version of isolation. We choose entrepreneurship in order to have freedom of expression, but then we're doing it on our own. And there's this expectation of turning up. And there's been this for us in our partnership, noticing our own shadows and really leaning into gift and choosing trust, that there is that ability for one of us to lean back while another leans in. And isn't that glorious that that's a support we can have? So I wanted to speak to that straight away, that Keys isn't here and this is why, and this is the gift. And it's been, you know, I'm sure Keys will share with you all, if you spoke to her, like the process it's been for her in getting to that point of, I can trust that you love me still, in the fact that I'm not going to prove and pretend and perform for you in this partnership. And I'm like, of course I love you. Like this is what we get to really lean into. So that's the first piece, that she is not here. I'm just going to catch up on these things here. Keezia reached out and invited me, navigating break around. Oh, Judy. Yeah. Respect. Bless. Oh, Judy, I feel like being here tonight is, yeah, potentially not ready for it, but you're here, and I feel like there's just going to be such beauty in this transmission for you in showing up. I would love it. I'm a little bit of a person that's like, if you can get on camera, I really welcome you. I really welcome you to let us see you. You don't have to look a certain way. Remember, beyond performing, pretending, and proving, bring your allness, bring whatever state you're in, and let's welcome you into this room. So tonight, let me have a drink of water before we begin. We have 2 hours. I'm going to try to do better at time management. If you know me, I will just keep delivering if the transmission is alive, and sometimes that can go for a while, and then it's like, all right, it's done. But I'm going to try and keep this to this 2 hours and really respect our time tonight. We are here because we're ready for our next evolution. And whether that feels like a conscious decision, or whether that feels like I have turned up and there's something in this for me, that the state of our evolution as a collective is that we are going through an emotional revolution. Whether we like it or not, whether we're on board with life's evolutionary agenda or not, we are all being purged through the power of our suffering. And partnership, more than any area in our life, is what is really undergoing that revolution. Partnership we are talking about tonight in reference to intimate relationship, and if we are not in intimate relationship right now, in every relationship. because it's about relationship. It's about the way we relate to other, because other is actually a reflection of our own emotional conditioning. So we're going to go deeply into that because our heart is the portal of our prosperity. And when we are not willing to be in relationship, deep, reverent relationship with our heart, we are missing out on what is available to flow through us. Because prosperity is love in action. Prosperity is love that makes us radiant, moving through our own vessel. It is love that flows through relationship with other, and it is the love of life resourcing us and receiving. If we are not open and we are closed, we are not in flow with life. We are not receiving the flow. So we are looking at this from two perspectives. We are really looking at how our conditioning and our defenses and our control is affecting our relationships, because what is affecting our relationships, what is showing up in our relationship, is going to affect our prosperity, is going to affect the work we're doing in the world, is going to affect our health. So let's dive in. Let's get into that. Before I start, I want to ask you whether you're okay with me sharing a bit of my story about what my experience has been with the Gene Keys, with Venus sequence, and my own relationship, because I feel like before education was institutionalized, before we decided that we needed these certificates on walls to justify and credit us as being able to be speakers of wisdom or keepers of wisdom, I believe that life would put us through those credentials. And in going with that flow and in trusting that as a knowing for me, I believe life put me on this earth to go through the most gloriously rich, fertile soil of a relationship with every possible juncture point in order to have me touch. I wouldn't say in every area I've experienced the depth in one particular experience, but I have definitely had a very wide range of experiences in my relationship that I know people would decide would mean the end of it. And so I can stand here with a real humble heart and full knowing that you would be surprised and delighted by the places that love truly can reach. And that often it is our minds that get in the way of where love is possible, because we have so many stories in our relationship caught up in moralistic conditioning around where love can't be, around what qualifies an end of a relationship. And it is actually just us missing out on something that could be truly rich and truly deep. Not in spite of challenge, but because of it, with it. Love is this big whole experience. And so my story with my partner is that we've been together 11 years and we just got married. We're in a bliss bubble. But we spent 9 years in absolute loving turbulence. I will call it loving because according to the world, you would have thought we had a beautiful relationship. We weren't outwardly fighting. It wasn't like we were in that image of like domestically fighting each other all the time. Underneath, we had a seething turbulence, full of resentment, full of compromise, full of dishonesty with ourselves and each other as a result. We have experienced, I met my beautiful partner. He had separated from his previous partner a year before with 2 young children, 2 and 3 when I met him. And so I come into a relationship that had a lot of unhealed relationship stuff when we got together. I was 22, so I come in really young to a whole lot of intensity, and it just built from there. We got pregnant within a year. We had a baby, 9 months after that. He was FIFO. We've been in so many dynamics. And the biggest thing that we brought into our relationship was that we had both. I had been engaged before. He had been engaged and had a broken family. So we brought in this idea that we never wanted to trap the other person. And we never wanted to get stuck in a relationship that wasn't the right one. How many of you have had that experience where you're like, you don't want to get it wrong? Like, you don't want to end up in the wrong relationship. And is this the right relationship? Yeah. So we were like, we thought we had a consciousness and an awareness and like a wokeness, because we'd both been in a level of self-development, that we were never going to just stay for the sake of it. And so we created this rule that every year on our anniversary, we would ask each other, are we growing or are we expiring? And that we was like, this is our check-in point. Are we growing or are we expiring? And so we thought we were giving ourselves this safety to be in love. But what we were actually doing, and what actually undermined our relationship until we got to the point where we went through open relating, I experienced feeling an attraction to someone. And we were like, we are honest. We'll tell each other about this. And he was like, explore it. So I went and I explored it, but there became some dishonesty in that, because there was a level of openness that that's what I was doing and I had his okay. But then I ended up kissing this man, and that wasn't an agreement that we had had. So then I was dishonest and cheated on him, because even though he was in agreement to this happening, there wasn't full transparency in what we were agreeing on. So I had to then come home and be like, this is what's happened. And I knew by the way my body felt that it had been dishonest. So he had to experience that pain in our relationship. And I then had to tell him a couple of days later, because I hadn't been fully honest, that I was like, we kissed. And he also, like, he went to kiss my boobs. He went to kiss me further, and then I stopped it. But that was another layer of dishonesty that I had to bring to him. So he loved me through that. Or so he thought he did. He tried to open to that. We stayed together. We were together for another year. We also lived with my mum. We had all of these dynamics. I won't go too far into that. I want to get to the point where we ended up in separation. We have a little girl, and I said to him, like, my soul was just like, this is over. You got to tell him it's over. It's done. And so I asked him to move out, and he did. He moved out within a month. Before he moved out, he started seeing someone else. So he moved out and he had a girlfriend immediately. And it was the greatest blessing of our life. Because sometimes, and I fully believe this, the most challenging experiences are the richest opportunity to lean into suffering and allow love. We get really comfortable offering love when it feels comfortable. We tell a lot of stories about love, and it's like, oh, when it's good, that's the kind of relationship. We've got these romanticized ideas about what relationships are and where love can go and what it's capable of and what it should look like. So we went through a massive purge through our suffering, and we ended up back together. And I would say not back together. We really got honest. We really faced our stuff. And the way we did that is I really lent into my Venus sequence and my gene keys. Because what I learned and discovered is that we're not really in relationship with another person until we have taken responsibility for our own emotional conditioning. And I had not. Well, who I'd been in relationship with for 9 months was the reflection of my own shadows. And he was just the moving vessel of that. And when I lent into my Venus sequence, when I saw my pattern, what I'm going to show you tonight about yourselves, I went, oh my gosh. Like, this has just been textbook me just being in my shadows and blaming you for it. All of it. I've put all of it onto you. and I saw it all and I felt it all. And he had to, I will share here that I took on most of the responsibility in seeing my own shadows, because in Gene Keys, we say that only one person needs to do the work to create the shift. Because when we own our own conditioning and we become a truly transparent mirror to our partner, then who they are hits that, and they can't, if we don't add to the drama of their own shadows, our relationship will shift. So if we are responsible for our own shadows, it is going to create change in our relationship. We don't need the other person to have to do all of this work too. We really can profoundly revolutionize our relationship in doing the work in ourselves. So that's what we did. And we have revolutionized our relationship. It is the most glorious love of my entire fucking existence. I pray for every single person in the world to know what this love feels like. And I'm so grateful that I can say this love with all of the reasons that society has told us there shouldn't be love, or there couldn't be love, or it should have ended. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. Thank you for hearing aspects of my story. I mean, I could spend 3 years talking about it, but I won't. We'll get into it. If you feel to share anything that's landing already so far, if you feel to jump in with like, oh my gosh, this is touching on things for me, or anything you feel to share, I'd love you to comment. I love that feedback. And I'm going to, while you do that, bring up my screen. Can you all see my screen? It's up? Yep, amazing. Okay, let's present. Okay. Partnership, our next evolution. I'm going to share with you as we move. This is what I want to, before we're going into our charts, what I really want to spend a moment bringing you into is that the biggest shift we're going to make tonight for you all is to see the ways you've been seeing your relationships differently. So we can do all of this work, but the biggest shift that's required to be able to look at your chart and take responsibility is to decide that everything that you attract towards yourself, all relationships, experiences, and their timings serve a single purpose: to offer you the possibility of expanding your capacity to love. Why this is as important is because of this. We tend to see the purpose of our relationships as a means to bring more happiness into our lives. And this is a worthwhile and very understandable sentiment. However, sometimes we need to go deeper into ourselves to find the diamonds. How many of you have told yourself or heard that narrative that our relationships are meant to make us happy? Like, they've got to bring me value. If they're not bringing something to this, then it's not it. Like, there's been so much of this propaganda, especially lately with and I say it with love, like our movement of self-love and self-worth, where we have created now a narrative of, if they're not adding value to my life, then they're not the right person. This kind of experience. And it's about, they've got to make me happy. We need to consider where happiness comes from. And is it the same thing as fulfillment? We have seen through the active.
We can only see the black screen, babe. It's kind of like it's loading and the images aren't coming up.
Okay. So you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I couldn't see it.
Thank you for telling me that, because that is what happens with my screen sometimes. Share. Can you see it if it's just like this? What are you seeing at the moment?
That's working now.
Let me just click like that. So this is what we're reading. We need to consider where happiness comes from, and is it the same thing as fulfillment? So our next evolution in partnership is shifting from this idea and this concept that relationships are about happiness, like it's some high, like they've got to provide some dopamine hit for you. And we're going to look at it like it's about fulfillment. And fulfillment is a very different experience than happiness. There's hype. Fulfillment is about depth. It's about wholeness. It's about what experiences give me the most opportunity to bring more of myself online. And from that lens, the most turbulent relationships, the most difficult relationships can become the most valuable. Because what is more valuable than turning fear into love? Than meeting the parts of you that are closed and opening them to allow more life to flow through you. Now, this doesn't mean abuse. This is not this story that we've got to accept abuse. This is just challenging ourselves before we begin to widen the lens on where we close and how we justify that closing. And where are we missing out because of it? Because we have seen through the activation sequence in your gene keys that our true purpose is not an external thing. It's about fulfillment. It is a quality of our consciousness. And you are invited to look again at the city of the gene key of your purpose. This is the purpose of all of your relationships, to exponentially enhance this quality in your life. So this is what a profile looks like. Who's created theirs? I'm hoping every single woman here has got their chart.
We can't see anything again. It just says, for me anyway, partnership, our next evolution.
Yeah, just seeing the cover page, babe.
Ah. So you haven't seen anything I've showed you again?
Only partnership, our next evolution.
I have no idea why it is doing that. Okay, so if I click this, and stop sharing. I'm going to try share again. Okay, can you see this? What are you seeing?
Yep, can see the text, everything you attract towards yourself, etc.
Okay,
yeah,
you can see that text?
Yep.
Can you see this? It looks like
Yep.
a profile.
Yep.
Okay, so have you all created your profile? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I'm not used to doing slides. So let's just also take a moment. If you have like incredible visual display, that is not my gift, that is not my genius. And I have attempted to create it for you tonight because I really wanted to offer you some really tangible pieces. I want you to look at this slide as we go through and not get attached to reading this slide. I want you to get attached to taking something from it for yourself. So you're not going to get this slide. I want you to write down one thing that you see on here about yourself tonight and let that percolate. Because the power of Gene Keys is the art of contemplation. Everything that I'm offering you tonight are these little seeds for you to plant inside yourself, to take away and ruminate on. And not ruminate on with any, I've got to try and understand this, with this relaxedness inside your being, that if I plant that and I know that's there and I allow myself to water it and nurture it, just with the every now and again remembering I've planted that seed, being surprised by what you discover and uncover, what unlocks in you by these little seeds that get planted. So I really invite you to not get bogged down tonight in trying to understand anything, but just allow yourself to be guided by what you grab. So this is your chart. This is what's created. This is the green is the activation. What we're really focusing on tonight is your Venus. We're focusing on your Venus because your Venus is the area of your chart that is you walking the pathway of your wounding to open your heart again. Because how many of us have experienced deep pain as a result of relationship. How many of us have trauma, have grief, have resentment, have defensiveness because of this experience of pain existing because of relationship? All of us. All of us, because our original relationship with our mother and the separation that inevitably occurs because of life, we have consciously or unconsciously created wounding in relationship. So this is the deepest work we will ever do, is walking back through the pathway of the ways we have closed our heart. Because from a Gene Keys perspective, we have done it in a particular order. And that's what we're walking you through. Now, the reason we do this is because we control what we do not trust. We create, I'm just going to admit Shay, we control what we do not trust. What do you think when you hear that? We don't trust love, and we don't trust ourselves, and we don't trust others. We put in safety measures to make sure that they can't hurt us. We create defense. This is what our Venus sequence is about. Now, who here is a visual person? I am. I like to, here you have words and numbers and all of the lines. Here you have my brain. On the right here, you have my brain. Please say you can see it. We have purpose, attraction, IQ, EQ, SQ, core. Now, those words are amazing. I understand them. For someone who is journeying with the Gene Keys and haven't gone into them, what the fuck do they mean? Purpose is, our ultimate purpose in life is fulfillment. That's why there's a beautiful little person here. It's self-fulfillment. It is to have the most amount of soul, of spirit, of divinity enter this physical body. We are, as humans, going through this stunning experience of being evolved through the physical world and involved as divinity reaching into us. And we are at a precipice in our collective evolution where divinity has almost touched us physically. The involution. That is why we are going through this intense emotional revolution, why our relationships are the most challenged they have ever been, because we are in a fire hosing of having our suffering revealed to us, because divinity is making its way through us. It is making its way through us because love will always root out fear. Full stop. Entering your suffering will be the source of your salvation. That's what we're doing in the Venus. So when it comes to you and the next evolution of your relationship, remembering what we said at the beginning, our purpose is to be fulfilled, is to have our being filled up, which means the purpose of our relationships is to bring us into that purpose, deeper and deeper and truer and truer. So that's why we also have a person here looking like it's pulling on a rope. I hope that's what you can see, because that's what I'm trying to display to you. That rope is attached to what you will see is a bell. That bell is what the core is. It's your core wound here means your slice of suffering that you as a soul have agreed to transform and evolve on behalf of the whole. So your relationships, every relationship you end up in, is an agreement that that person at this time, perfectly right timing, is going to pull on that rope and ring that bell and touch your core wound. That this is what's occurring in a relationship. The reason I want you to have that understanding is because when we do not trust that every relationship is for us, that every experience is for us, that every bit of pain we're experiencing is just an opportunity for us to transmute our suffering into love. We will put up defenses to it. But that bell will keep on ringing inside of you. This is why I wanted to create this visual for you of this person tugging on this bell, because I wanted you to see the almost comic aspect of the ways we think creating defenses will protect us, because those defenses don't stop the pain, they keep it in. But we're trying to control it because we don't trust that life and love is just trying to root out the fear. This attraction sphere here, it's a magnet. It's a magnet because this is the aspect of you that is going to call in all the storylines of your relationships. So this magnet inside you is going to call in these people to ring this bell, because that's life's agenda. That's the agenda of relationships, to turn fear into love. But we create these defenses. That's what our IQ and our EQ are. When we have been hurt, when we have experienced pain, when we have experienced separation, when we have felt non-love, we've stopped trusting and we've put up defenses of mental defenses, psychological defenses of the ways we create beliefs and thought patterns that we think will keep us safe, based on from the age of 15 to 21, based on the ways we saw other people look after themselves and defend themselves and protect themselves from hurt. Then we have created emotional shield. So we've got this big wall in front of our heart. When the emotional pain gets too much, how do we react to that? That's what our profile is showing us. Depending on what line we have here, is showing us how we defend our heart from pain. Notice that this heart here is intentionally doesn't have the rope going through it. And that's because our SQ is about our innocent child. It's about our development from 0 to 7. It doesn't carry shadow. As a line, as an experience, the purity of our being, 0 to 7, we are not acting out in shadow. We have desires, we have needs, deep needs, but we're not in shadow from 0 to 7, but we definitely are experiencing shadow within our environment. And so that's what your SQ gene key will show you. The shadow that you felt within your system from 0 to 7 physiologically. So this is what all of these mean. This is the purpose of relationship according to Gene Keys. How many people are looking at this already just thinking, wow, relationship is actually like, there's so much to it. There's so much to the layers of it. And thinking, maybe I've looked at my relationship very superficially. And if I looked at relationship as an opportunity to ring that bell, to invite me into more love, how differently would I see so many of my relationships? Because we have quite a narrative in our society that challenge and struggle and pain are bad. That there's almost an aspect of it's wrong and we shouldn't experience that in relationship. But if the point of relationship is to pull on this rope to allow us to deepen into healing and transmuting this suffering, then every relationship is a gift and every experience is a gift. And currently within you, this is what is playing out. If you are not aware of your conditioning, this could be what is currently existing. So whatever love you have now, your love could tenfold walking this journey. If you are experiencing not trusting and being hurt by relationships and struggling with relationships, this could be what's playing out for you. Love will always root out fear, as we said before. So what I want to share with you tonight for you personally is what could be playing out for you. You all have your charts, which means you all have your lines. You all have your charts with you. I want to look at 2 spheres tonight. Now, we can't look at all of them. I could freaking dive into every single one of them. I am obsessed with this. But tonight I wanted to give you, okay, if these incredible women are turning up, what can I give them that's going to be super tangible and available to create shift in their relationship right now? So what I want to speak to, if we're going with this idea that every relationship is to bring us deeper into our purpose, and we're going to ring that bell in relationship, I want to talk to you about what your bell is that's being rung for you personally, and then what could be playing out in your purpose. Because your purpose, when we look at your Venus sequence, is all about the role you play in relationship. So when you get that bell rung, when it hits that wound, who do you become? Now, depending on what line you have here, it could be like, and this is what I'm going to show you here. Please don't, as I said, judge my visual aid. In shadow, it could look like you become a loner, an accuser, an escape artist. It could look like you become a politician, a victim, or a judge. So if you want to next level your relationship and open, I want to give you this real awareness to see a pattern that's been playing out for you. But first, I want you to understand what your bell is that's being rung. Because I did a session with a woman recently who sat there and she was gobsmacked. She couldn't speak. And I'm like, are you okay? It took her a moment. And then she went, you have just, like, she's spent 25 years or something in the psychotherapy industry, in the counseling industry. Like, this is her life's work, working in relationship, working with deep emotional patterns for people, like suicide prevention support. She's like, but you have just spoken to me with my Gene Keys chart. You have seen exactly what plays out in my relationship, and you know nothing about me. But you have also just given me eyes to see exactly what plays out in my relationship that I did not have the words for. Like, I'm mind blown because I have all of these tools, yet I never have been able to have it that simple, that this is what's happening inside me. This is the bell that's being rung. This is who I'm becoming. And these are the ways I defend myself. But she's like, that is exactly it. I need a session for my husband because I need him to see that, because this will just change our entire relationship. Because if we can see this pattern, then we don't have to keep engaging in it. We can experience breakthrough because we also can see what the gift of that pattern is. And they've been married 30 years, so they have a beautiful relationship, but it's also just, wow, this could be the next evolution. So what is the bell that's being rung for you when you're being challenged in your relationships? Now, if you have a line 1, it's repression. Now, all of these core wounds are story and archetype. So what I've done in the past, I can't see your comments. I'm just going to take a moment to try and find them. So I can see you all. Okay. Chat, here we go. Can I ask? Oh, yes, Laura, you can ask a silly question. Sorry, I missed that. What do you want to ask? Let's do that before we dive into any more depths. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, I'm trying to type fiercely, but how do I know what my line number is?
Oh, I love that question because I've been so involved in G keys, I just assume everyone knows. So can you see my thing circling here on core?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to bring it to here. See how it says 38.5?
Yeah.
This is the gene key on this side of the decimal. Anytime I say line, I'm talking about the one on the number on the right side of the decimal,
okay,
which will be a number between 1 to 6.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, cool.
Thank you. That is a stunning question because you would be not surprised that is a question I get asked on repeat because it's the simplest thing that I just think I know and assume everyone else does. So thank you for asking that question. I'm sure other people have that. Does anyone else have any questions so that everyone feels caught up before we start going into your charts like this? No, I'm not seeing anything else. Okay. So your core, you're going to have a line 1 to 6. You have repression, honesty, denial, ease. Line 3, shame, humor. Line 4, rejection, gentleness. Line 5, guilt, forgiveness. Line 6, separation, care. What I want for all of you right now is to find your line and to write your wound on a page. Then I'm going to talk you through, I'm just seeing how this is not lined up. Then I'm going to talk you through and give you an idea of what they are. I can't spend lots of time explaining them, but I can give you an archetype. And then we're going to go look at when that gets wrung, who you could be being currently in shadow, and then what gift is available. So that when that does happen for you in life, the next evolution of your relationship is having an awareness of your emotional conditioning so you can start to allow more love to flow through. So you can open to more prosperity. We want to unlock your hearts tonight. So line 1, repression, honesty. Line 1, this is going to build this story. A line 1 is the slice of suffering of repression. Repression is when we actually do not even acknowledge suffering. It's to be so choked up by this deep, almost karmic pain inside us that relationships tend to get us right in the gut. And it can be so painful because there isn't an awareness of it yet. It just hits. And it's so deep and it's so compacted inside us that what the relationship is trying to do is allow us to get honest with ourselves, to start to slowly open to these rising bits of pain and suffering because it's been so closed down. Line 2 is denial. The next stage of suffering is the ways that we no longer in repression. The next evolution is there is an awareness that it's there, but there is not yet a willingness to see it. There's a level of unconsciousness attached to a line 2 of denial. They can't see their own pain and the ways that that touches other people and see their own suffering. The line 1 almost has a hyper awareness of it, but doesn't know what it is, but is very aware they're full of pain. But the line 2 of denial, it can't see its own denial. And so a relationship for a line 2 will be trying to show you that. That's what ease is about. Almost a line 2 has the easiest suffering to transmute because your relationships will tell you what your pain is, what your suffering is. You just get to listen. A line 3 bell being rung is shame. If we keep going with this archetypal story, a line 3 shame, they know that they have pain and suffering. And now they believe they are fundamentally flawed. So a relationship pulls on this rope of there is something wrong with me. I know how much pain is inside me and how broken I am and how much shadow I have. And everyone can see it. There is something wrong with me. And that's heavy. So what a relationship is trying to invite for shame is humor. Because sometimes the only option for something that feels that heavy and that dark is to be able to bring laughter to it. Is to be able to find that comic joke and paradox of life that none of us are getting out alive, but we've got to take it seriously. That we're all so self-obsessed with who we are and what we're going through, but we're all fucking going through it. We are all suffering. A line 4, the bell, the ring will be rejection. A line 4, it feels like they know and I can't be lovable now. Now, it's not something's wrong with me, it's they'll reject me. So what a line 4 will do when their bell gets rung is they will reject others at the deepest level before they can be rejected. It becomes a very cold closing around the heart. which requires deep gentleness to open. I'm not going to go too much in the gifts because I want to build on that later. I want to sit with the shadows for a moment. Line 5 is guilt. A line 5 has this real power energy of their core wound is they have a responsibility. They're meant to know better. You know, they're aware of the suffering. They're not in denial anymore. They've moved through shame, moved through the rejection piece, but now, how come I didn't know better sooner? And so now they feel this guilt that they haven't done better. They feel this guilt that they should be doing something for the world, that they should be doing something in the relationship, that they should be trying to meet everyone else's expectations of them, but they're not. And so there's this wound of getting this bell rung of I'm not good enough for the others. I feel guilty that I haven't been what they need me to be. And the pathway for them that the bell's trying to get them to bring through is forgiveness. How can you forgive yourself and other people? How can you forgive others for having expectations of you? And how can you forgive yourself for not meeting them? Our line 6 is separation. A line 6 always has this element of they're not within the line 1 to 5. They're almost like the 1, but in the next evolution of the 1. So the wound then that comes with that is this feeling of separation. At the deepest part of a line 6, the bell will ring as this feeling of no one gets me. I feel so misunderstood. I don't feel like I belong here. And the pathway through that is to care, because a line 6 can feel so separated that to bring themselves into that suffering, to open themselves to love, means they've got to care enough about other people when they've got such a wound that they haven't been cared for by others. Who has felt something hearing that about their line? If you just want to comment. Who is feeling that line, having any experience of, yep, okay, that has definitely been something I've felt. Seeing a couple of nods. There's a few of you that aren't on the screen, so I can't see if it's landing. So then if we go with this picture, now that you know what bell's being rung, then who are you being? Who are you becoming? When that gets rung, what sort of person are you being? Wow. Denial for me. I'm denying my own denial. Yes, Judy, that is a beauty and a curse of the line 2, the unconscious, mesmerizing, passionate, glorious line 2. There's a natural in everything that also can't see themselves because their gift and their beauty is in their unconsciousness. Wow, line 5, holy shit, yep, that's what I've been moving through since my breakup 8 months ago. Yeah. I am a line 5, so I know that one intimately, and I know, I mean, every single person's suffering will feel equally as fucking hard. And I know meeting my own line 5 suffering was like dying. It literally felt like being, and this was the revolutionary aspect of what I went through 2 years ago with my partner and in relationship, and why I'm obsessed with what is available in this Venus is it all had to come back to me, and it all actually, what did you do to meet it specifically? I love that question. I can say that I had the awareness through my gene keys of what it was. So I planted that I had this guilt, and that I had this core wound, because I also coupled it with my gene key, which I haven't done with you tonight because it can get like way too much information all at once. And I wanted to give you something synthesized and tangible, but I knew that I had struggle as well. So I had this contemplation of struggle as my shadow and what that meant, and line 5 guilt, and that I need that the pathway through that for me to stop being in the shadow and the reaction and the repression was forgiveness. So I had that. And then I can tell you that the actual experience of meeting it was laying in my bed at night, in the middle of the night. I don't know if I'd even fallen asleep or waking up. But the question I asked myself, so there's a pathway here between SQ and core, and it's called, the question it asks of you is, what would my life look like without suffering? Because that's what our relationships are bringing us into connection with, is our own suffering. Love will always root out fear. So I knew that. And the question that I actually experienced myself to meet it specifically was to let myself love myself. The question, I'm trying to remember the exact question I experienced at the time, was like, what if I had to love myself because no one else could love me? Because the wound that I'd carried was that I needed the evidence that I was lovable through someone else. I needed I was desperate for my relationships somewhere in the world to reflect that I was a lovable person. So the thing I grappled with in that moment to meet it specifically was, could I fucking handle what I thought was the most devastating outcome, which is that I would have to be the one to love me because no one else could. Because that's what I saw it like. Not that once I was proved that I was lovable, then I could love myself. Could I handle to meet the suffering at the depth of me that I would have to love myself? And this is what the Venus sequence is ultimately bringing us back into. It's self-love, because that's the love we're craving. If we are not having love that blows our socks off, nourishes our hearts, fucking brings tears to our eyes with the beauty of it, I guarantee it's because you don't know yet how to have that experience of love for yourself. And so I met my suffering in that bed that night with, well, fuck it, I'll love me. Like, fine, I'll do it. I will do the hardest thing I can imagine, and I will love me. And I cried for hours. It felt literally like death to get to that point to go, I'll do it. My entire life changed. My entire life changed because I didn't need anyone else to love me. I can feel the emotion again. And that's why I do this work for people, because when we meet that, it was in that moment that I decided to trust myself, because I didn't need other people to love me anymore. I trusted love because I fucking felt it flood me. It was the deepest pain of my life to be there. But the love that I felt when I let that in was just like, there is nowhere that love isn't. Which means everywhere I look now, every experience I have with my partner, every experience I have with my child, everything, I know there's love in it, because in the deepest fucking pit of hell inside my own being, where I just let it decimate me, that was when it touched me. So these ropes that are pulling on us, and so I let that in. Thank you for that question, Judy. I let self-love in. And also in that time, when and I said before, it was the most beautiful experience with my partner, where he got another partner. Like he slept with another woman before he'd even moved out, 2 nights before he moved out, and I knew about it, and I raged. Now, this is what I want to talk to you about is in the Venus sequence, in every line, we have a shadow. But in Gene Keys, we talk about every shadow has a repressive and a reactive tendency. And I know, Bella, like you've been exploring this, so you have a real grasp on this concept. So we will often get stuck in a way of being, and we'll get stuck in a dynamic in a relationship of being repressive or reactive. I was the repressive tendency in my relationship. That was the dominant dynamic we got stuck in and locked in our pattern. When these things unfolded with my partner, and I say, like, I'm so grateful he did it, because I had been through such intense trauma at the age of 14. My dad had took his own life while I was home when I was 14. So I had such a capital T trauma that nothing had got through that pain beyond like just the grief of losing dad. I'd never been able to penetrate into the depths of me. When Justin slept with this woman and then got this girlfriend and we had this series of things unfold, it felt bigger than my dad's suicide, which allowed me to rip my heart open again and go even deeper into my own suffering. And I went the opposite way. So I'd been so repressed that I became reactive. And I'd been such a crier since I was 14 that I become a fucking lioness and I raged. And that had never been our dynamic. So I flipped the other way. And in being able to flip the other way, I was able to see myself again. I was able to get out of the pattern I'd been stuck in. So this is what I wanted to then speak to you about, is the line and the pattern that you play out in relationship. When this bell gets rung, who do you be? Now, if you're a line 1, the potential shadow is you become the loner. So this pain gets hid inside you, and then you go into either not standing up for yourself or forcing your point of view as a reactive. But the main thing of a line 1 is they're driven by the need to feel secure, but they will often, what it means by loner is they will go into their internal cave. And from that internal cave of shutdown, they will either keep trying to force their point of view, but they're not in the room, they're inside themselves. That's the pattern. Or they just shut down. They're not standing up for themselves at all. They go into that cave and they completely close off. I'm not going to speak to the gift element. It's there because I want you to see it, but I want to keep going through the shadows for now. The line 2 is the accuser. So there's a repressive tendency of burying your head in the sand or responding with angry outbursts. So the line 2, as we were talking about denial, they step outside of themselves. They're there in the room. They're in denial. They're passionate. They are a gift, the natural in relationship. But that can be a tendency to deny, bury your head, or to be really quite an aggressive, angry outburst, line 2. There can be a lot of drama in a line 2's role and relationship when that bell gets rung. A line 3, when that pressure sets in, is the escape artist. Now it says repressive is to divert attention away from yourself. Reactive is to create emotional drama. Main block, you run away from making commitments in life. I didn't say the main block before for line 2, that you are unaware of your effect on others. Line 3, escape artist. So the line 3 is, we talk about them all the time. They're afraid of commitment. Their gift is adventure. They want change, but there is this fear of getting stuck because they want adventure. So what if I commit to this relationship? So I just bail out. And when I say bail out, some people for the line 3, when that pain sets in, when that discomfort happens in relationship, they may not actually leave relationships. I have met line 3s who are like, but I've been with my partner for 25 years. And I'm like, oh yeah. How many times have you fantasized about leaving? How often do you leave in your head? Like, check out, get out of the room. And they're like, oh my gosh, like all the time. So this escape artist is repressive or reactive with diverting attention away from yourself. It can be to also just escape inside. to fantasize about leaving. So you could stick around in a long-term relationship, or with the reactive tendency of creating emotional drama. When emotional tension comes into the relationship, the line 3 will blow it up and bail out. They will have a line of failed relationships or ended relationships. They won't stick around long term. Our line 4 is the politician nurturer. So when the politician gets their bell rung, the reason it's called the politician is they say that they're born with a snake tongue. So the line 4 we talked about before has this wound of rejection. So when their little core wound gets rung, they will put up the walls around their heart, ice people out, and they'll either be emotionally numb, so there is no emotion, like they are just like cold, or they cut others off in a cruel way, which is the snake tongue. It's those really acid comments that get made, like throwing a spear over the ice wall at other people. And you'll know if you're a line 4, I'm sure, that you have had people reflect to you the cuttingness of your comments. It's cold. The line 5, the shadow is the victim. So there's the repressive tendency of being lost in self-pity or making others feel like the victim. The line 5 we talked about earlier is that it's that power archetype. It's a leader in its gift. So when a leader is in its shadow, the two experiences of it is to become totally disowned, being lost in self-pity, the victim. I can't ever get it right. I'm always letting people down. So when that bell gets rung, the role that you then play and the dynamic that comes out in your relationship is, it's all my fault. I've done this wrong again. Or the reactive is to make others feel like the victim. It's to become the aggressor. The line 5 has the really dominant storyline in relationship of the abused and the abuser dynamic in reactive and repressive nature. So then they will power over, dominate in their relationship to avoid feeling the pain and the overwhelm of what's being touched inside them. Sorry, I forgot with the line 4, you reject others before they can reject you. That's the reason you're doing it. And the main block for the victim is you create a web of illusions that keep you trapped in your mind. A line 5 will project onto the situation because they're in leader, they're in overview. They will say, I know what's happening here. And that's where this dynamic plays out. And then the line 6, the judge. So when you get your bell rung, the line 6 will become being uninterested and aloof or disempowering others through the intellect. I am a line 6, so I can speak from personal experience that the judge concept, you exclude yourself through your judgment of everything and everyone. My experience of it was like internally, before I could see it, but I had the realization in my separation, was that I'd put myself on a pedestal or I'd put myself in the pit. But either way, there was a level of not being in my body and in the room with my partner. So when a line 1, they go into an internal cave, that's the role they play out when the emotion is too much. A line 6 is to become like on the roof. If you're in human design, you will have heard that term. It's like sitting on the roof. It's an objectiveness because the gift is visionary, but it's to be outside yourself. And when you're outside yourself, you're not attached to your heart. So that's where the disempowering others through intellect can come through. It becomes all mind in relationship. There's no being in the room in connection. Or there's just this aloofness, just like, and I absolutely swung between those two, for sure. Just like nothing bothered me. It was all okay. That was because I was in full repression. I was uninterested and aloof. Like that's why I said there was no external drama dynamic in my relationship that people would have said that we weren't in love. People were confused, but you guys were happy. But underneath it, there was so much repression of it. It was okay because I was just uninterested and aloof. It was all okay until it wasn't. And then I become disempowering through intellect. And that was an extreme experience. But there was a lot of judgment there. before we look at the gifts, would anyone like to jump on and share what their line is and what awarenesses they might be having? Are you starting to see what has been getting touched and how you have actually then been behaving in relationship? This is wild for me. Feel free to share. When people share, it gives other people context and helps them to open and see. No, Sophia, we are looking at your purpose. So we looked at your core. Yeah, that was all the purpose sphere. So we looked at your core as the bell, and that was this, when we were looking at what your wound is. And we didn't go deeply into that because your core wound is right at the center of your chart, because there are so many layers to access it. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that, because I wanted you to know what it is and have a concept of what's being touched, but it doesn't do it justice to spend a lot of time speaking to it tonight. But we moved then to your purpose, because we wanted to see, well, who do I become and what's playing out? And so what could be available for me in the next evolution of my relationship if I could see how I've been acting and how I can start to shift, because that's going to start to then open up the rest of your heart and your Venus sequence. So that was all purpose sphere, yes. So we were looking at what line you have here in this bottom sphere.
Okay, so can I share? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got time.
Yeah, looking at mine as a line 1, that resonates. Like, that's just insane how I flip between the reactive and the repressive. Like, I can see exactly how I just go from, yeah, either just like freezing, not saying anything, or being like, no, this is the point of view, like, and being really loud and kind of like forcing point of views. And yeah, I split up with my ex like 9 months ago now, I think it was. And like that line 5 you were talking about, the guilt and forgiveness, that was so strong, and it felt like I was dying, like literally felt like it was like I was dying for like 3 months straight. I just cried every day and like really had to sit with it. And then I see where, like, with that line 1, how much I was just repressing, like, in that relationship and not speaking my truth, but then also, yeah, flitting from one side to the other. So that's just insane. It's almost like just confirming what I've just moved through in a really like clear way. So thank you.
You are so welcome. Richard Rudd says, with the Venus sequence, if you are not in a relationship, it's a beautiful opportunity, because you can reflect on all the relationship you've been in. Like, sometimes when you're in it, in the intensity of it, it can be harder to see. And when you become out of it and you look back, you can be like, oh, that's what played out. I see that really clearly. So there's, an opportunity for reflection in being single.
Definitely.
Anyone else like to share what's landing or what you're realizing? No? We're good? Okay. I like to begin with shadow. Now, in Gene Keys with Richard Rudd says we should spend 10% of our time on the shadow and 90% on the gift. Because where we focus is where our energy goes, and what we want to focus on. And I was just saying to someone the other day, I would love to change the word shadow work to gift work, because our focus is everything. And I say that because I existed in shadow work for a really long time, and I love it, and I fucking believe in it. And it's why I love the Gene Keys, because I believe that we will know love by facing our pain. And I get that that's the concept of shadow work. But when we call it shadow work, we can unconsciously find ourselves focusing on that behavior and that pattern. When we choose to use the language gift work, knowing that gift work is moving through the shadow, in every shadow is a gift, then we know what we're moving towards. So when we face pain, when we meet suffering, instead of being afraid of it, we know that through this will be the gift. So we will hold on that much longer. We will open that much wider. We will enter ourselves that much deeper because we know that light and love is what we will experience. But I like to start with the shadow because when I ask people to know themselves as a gift, it doesn't come as quick to them. Because what we are good at is knowing our pain. Because pain hurts. And we are so wired and programmed to focus on pain, to know pain, to feel pain, to react from pain, to defend against pain. It is literally our primal wiring to keep us safe. And anything that hurts is a potential threat. So we will be aware of that threat. So when I start at shadow, it invites the greatest breakthrough for people because they can see that a lot quicker than they can see their gifts. And once you can see your shadow, then the greatest thing that I love about Gene Keys is that you've just admitted that you have that shadow, which means in turn, you have to admit to your greatness and to the glory of you and to the gift of you, because there in your chart, it says shadow gift city. So if you have just admitted to that, the hardest work is done because everything about you that is glorious and light and loving and incredible is just as real. Where there is fear, there is love. It is not separate. In the deepest pits of you where you think you are going to die, that is where you will come alive. That is what is available in relationship in our next evolution of partnership. How can you not trust everything with that outlook? That where there is fear, there is love. You are going to open to every experience in your relationship. You become less connected to the drama. You've seen, okay, I don't stand up for myself or I force my point of view. You see that the block is because I'm driven by my need to feel secure. Okay, so when that pain, when that overwhelm sets in, the gift that's available with that, you've got standing up for yourself in a firm but kind way, or listening to the needs of others. Because the highest potential is your confidence makes others feel secure. Because, as I said before about moving through our Venus, it's about opening to self-love. You know that you're driving from this shadow of needing to feel secure. So now you know that the gift in that is, I can make myself secure when this overwhelm comes, which is going to change completely the way I show up in my relationship. I don't need to force a point of view because I've already given myself security, which means now I can listen to the needs of others and I can share my own needs, but I don't need to force them down people's throats. I can live this gift already. Tomorrow, Sophia can walk out tonight and she's felt this, she knows this, she can choose this. Like that. Because the gift with Gene Keys from shadow to gift is not that you never go back to shadow. It's embracing shadow. It's being able to feel it happening in the moment and wrapping your arms around that part of you that just wants security in Sophia's case. That's had her guilt wrung, that's got her feeling like she's not meeting people's expectations and goes, oh my gosh, my tendency now is I just want to feel secure. So she can give herself that, embrace that part of her, and then choose what part of her she puts forward. It's like that analogy of which wolf are you going to feed? Fear or love? You get to choose to feed love by embracing the part of you that's afraid, by embracing the part of you that feels insecure, by embracing the part of you for line 2 that's unaware of your effect on others. Oh, I do this. For a line 2, the experience of I'm not so great at seeing the way I impact people. So what if I listened to other people? And in that happening, they can become more easygoing. They can respond to life spontaneously. They can be at peace with others because they're in the listening. Laura, I can see you looking quite intensely. I'm like, what's going there? Because if you've got that happening, I'm sure there's another woman who's like, I'm lost a little. thought all resonates. Okay.
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I'm like struggling to press all the buttons.
Yeah.
I am just taking it all in because I thought we were with the purpose. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a line 2. But then line 4 feels more like me. So I'm just looking at line 2 to be like, do I do that? And I'm just deeply thinking and like sort of reflecting on how I actually do show up in those moments. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind is right now, because I'm like, that's really interesting, because I definitely feel like I can relate to 4, which is my line for my core.
It is your core wound.
Yeah. So 4 is, my core is 4, line 4, and then my purpose is line 2. So I'm just trying to connect the dots now that I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gene Keys is like a babushka doll. So we're looking at this really flat. We're walking through this like it's a path. Like you go through here, and this is here, and this is here, and this is here. Really, it's all simultaneous. So I would be curious if you're feeling like we will resonate with all lines in aspects because we are whole. And I'd be curious to know, Laura, do you have quite a few 4s or more than one 4 in your Venus? When you look at this, how many 0.4s do you have in your red?
Okay, hold on. Let me have a quick look.
Two. Okay. Because line 4s are quite a dominant archetype in our Venus sequence because they are so cold and they are so closed off. So I know when I need to be able to, oh, you're welcome, Shay. When I have done readings with line 4s, that is understanding themselves as a line 4 anywhere in their Venus is the thing that really opens them up, because it is so, it creates such a restriction in their being. A line like that fear of rejection, so rejecting yourself, the idea of the walls that come up and the coldness that sets in around their own heart, and the feeling of, they say with a line 4, and for anyone who has a line 4 anywhere in their Venus sequence, this is going to apply to you, that a line 4 has so much warmth available to them. They are the absolute epitome of, they're the nurturer in role. So their archetype, no matter where it is in the chart, is one of absolute huge love, huge, big, warm love. So when they are closed off, the story is that people will think they're loving. People will think there's warmth, but only the line 4 knows that they are so closed off and so in fear of rejection. So when people then keep reflecting to them how loving they are, they get deeper and deeper inside themselves. The walls get higher and higher because they're like, you can't even see me. So it gets further away. Like you don't even get it. I am not even I'm barely in this room with you. I am that far behind my own defenses. So when they hear that, it's to be seen through that as a line 4, that they are that fucking terrified of rejection, and that they have been rejecting themselves that long, and especially with you, Laura, as a core wound. You were born with that wounding of rejecting yourself before others rejected you. So it goes right back to your core. So you will feel that archetype deeply, because that's a line 4. It's such a, you've been waiting to feel warmth. You've been waiting to be seen through the cold that has existed around you. So to have that seen is profound. So you may not resonate so much with your purpose line at the moment, but sometimes you can just feel it straight to the core. Other people will really resonate with their purpose line and can't really resonate with their core because that wounding feels so far away from them. So yeah, just like the biggest thing with Gene Keys is trusting what feels like you need to hear tonight, or ever. When you ever pick up a Gene Key, if you decide to read the book, if you decide to do the course, trusting what resonates for you at what time and what creates the most breakthrough for you in that moment, because that's where you're at, because it is a babushka doll. And sometimes these layers are over here, and this is the layer that wants to be felt right now, and go with that. Just Judy, I feel this so deeply for me. I have a 4 in my purpose. That's the paradox. I have so much love, but I've been so yeah. Yeah. I'm sending you so much love, because that's hard. To have that much love to give, to want to give that much love. All of us, we think we're in pain because we're afraid of the pain and the suffering. But our greatest pain is how badly we want to love and let love in and let it just annihilate us, because that it's actually us that's keeping love out with our defenses. We think it's protecting us from hurt, but it's just keeping the hurt in, because love can't get to us. If you imagine that love is flowing to you from all directions all the time, that there is nothing you have to do for love, nothing you have to prove for love, nothing, no way or path you have to walk to get love, love is, then all you need to do is put down your defenses to let it in. That's the work, is seeing the ways you have been blocking it, seeing the ways you have been cold. And that is the gift of the gene keys with actually having these archetypes, is sometimes we just haven't had the language to name the experience, so we haven't known what to put down. You know, like we want to let love in, but we just don't know what we don't know. And even with, that's why I shared that story before, even with all of these tools that we have, all this emotional intelligence, all of the awareness, it still doesn't give us the name, the thing to name the experience, so that we can feel it, so that we can release it. We still need all the skills, but it's this ability to actually see ourselves, this cheat sheet to be like, oh, this is it. This is what plays out. I mean, I'm sharing a tiny part of your chart with you. We can go into your attraction and really, we can look at your whole storyline of your relationships. I could tell you your entire storyline of what's played out in all of your relationships through your attraction. I can tell you the way you mentally protect yourself and what shields you put up with what your lines are. I can tell you, and this is just, we're just looking at your lines. We're not looking at your gene key, which brings in a whole other element, which just deepens the story even more. To see ourselves so clearly is such a gift. So who do we have left on the call? So I've got Judy is, yes, it's a beautiful access point to give us something to latch onto. People in the Gene Keys community call them acupressure points. You know, it's like knowing where to press. You know, when you have that sore muscle, and it's like when you can hit that spot, it can release. That's what they are. It's that acupressure point where you know that that is going to release it. Hello, Saran. I just saw your beautiful face. Hello, Saran's partner. Lovely to meet you. Yeah, so I'm digressing, but Saran, what is your purpose line? Do I remember you're a 2?
My purpose line.
Yeah.
Which
is this bottom one?
2. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you resonate with you're unaware of your effect on others, responding with angry outbursts or burying your head in the sand?
Yeah.
On the occasion.
On the occasion. Have you been listening to?
Yeah, he's been listening. He's very
I love that.
at all.
I love that.
Mm.
Amazing. Yeah, so we're at that beautiful place of then looking at the gifts. So we started to look at that with Anchor, with the natural. There's responding to life spontaneously and being at peace with others. Your easygoing nature allows everyone around you to relax. When aligned to embraces their passionate edge, embraces that part of them that is by design unself-conscious. Now, I'm going to digress here and give you a bit more of a story. These lines, there's 6 lines, but they're in multiple places all over your chart, because each line just it has its whole story, no matter where it is. It gets more specific, but it has its experience. So as we started with the line one is very internalized. It's very deep. It's the creator. It's the void point. It's they go inside themselves because they have so much access to depths inside themselves, which becomes a gift because they are a birther of newness into the world. That's the line one's beauty and gift. So yes, they have a shadow where they'll retreat, or they'll, from their retreated place, try and force their point of view. And also that's a gift because they can be that anchor. They can get so rooted so deeply inside themselves that then they can really be that anchor for people around them and create security. The line two with the denial wound, they're unself-conscious because their gift and their design is that they're passionate. They're the dancer is their archetype. And the greatest dancers that you've ever watched, the most mesmerizing, mind-blowing, cellular activating dancers are the ones that have no idea who's watching them. They are not in any way thinking about external eyes. They are so in their body and their own experience, and that is what makes them magic. So that is the gift available, and there comes with that a shadow, because in order to be that mesmerizing, they can't be conscious of other people, because that would create a leak on their passion, on their creativity. So when you can then harness that awareness that that's what you can be like, you can play to that gift. You can get into the listening of other people. And like I said earlier with the denial, it's almost the easiest one, because if you're open to listening to reflections of others, you can be told what you're not seeing. So you don't have to do the same like awareness as other people. You can be like, oh yeah, okay, thank you for telling me that, because I can't see myself. Then you can become so easygoing and natural and allow everyone around you to relax, because you can be so in your experience and then listen when you're told. Our line three with adventurer, we talked about them as the escape artist, because their archetype is they are the adventurer. They are the change maker. They are unafraid of breaking through new frontiers and exploring new things. They love dynamic exchange. They're electricity in motion. So that is that the fear of commitment is not because something's wrong with them. It's because by design, they are changes. And so the fear of commitment comes from, but if I commit, will I get stuck, and will I lose the edge? Will I lose the electricity? Will I lose the ability to move? And so a line three's gift becomes their ability to accept the feelings of others and laugh at themselves. But, oh, sorry, my screen, I was going to move my screen. Your enthusiasm for life is contagious. If they can turn that fear of commitment into choosing the commitment as the adventure, and knowing that there will always be new adventures within that relationship, then they can create this beautiful, rich enthusiasm. That's what can come alive in the next evolution of your partnership as a line three. As a line four, the politician, we've talked about a fair bit of the coldness and the walls that go up, and that feeling of rejecting others before you, like rejecting yourself before others people reject you, because you have so much love, huge love, big love, and you just want to share it with people. And so when you can be aware that that's what you're doing to yourself, you can start to let that, with deep gentleness, you can let that love through. You can be gentle with yourself. You can connect deeply with others. Your generous spirit enables others to accept themselves. Because when you can give that generosity and gentleness to yourself, that you can warm yourself up again from the inside out, that is what gets to flow to other people. That is what comes through you, the nurturer instead of the politician. When the pain overwhelms you, instead of going to that role of cutting others off or cutting yourself off, you can, okay, this is what I'm about to do. Or what if I could stay open? The line five with the victim and the leader, the inner strength of seeing things clearly for yourself, using your clarity to help others. Your highest potential as your practical mind makes you a strong and natural leader. The line five is a problem solver. Their innate ability is leadership, is to see an objective point of view of problem solution, how to get from A to B. And that can get them quite caught up in their own projection of the way things are. And vulnerability is a big breakthrough for a line five. Seeing that part of you that just wants to problem solve or feels inadequate because you can't solve the problem, and giving yourself grace with that, giving yourself that forgiveness like we talked about with the core, then you can be this person that can see again. You can then use that leadership. You've got that awareness that sometimes you can get caught up in your own projection and fall into victim. So you can make that choice, like we said before with Sophia, you can make that choice to what you're going to choose to be, because you can see the role you have been playing. And then your practical mind can make you strong and a natural leader. You can really show up in leadership and relationship and in life. And then the line 6, judge and visionary, is inner strength, including yourself at every level of life, being a role model for others. Your trust in life helps others to trust themselves. So how are we all feeling with all of that? I've noticed a few people have had to go, and we've got a few people with cameras off now. How's everyone feeling? Optimistic. I love that. What did I need? Yeah. Amazing. Grateful. I hope it really served you tonight, Judy. It's that portal of separation, of grief. When you journey into the Venus sequence, you start, there's an area you start, and it suggests that often our relationships end prematurely. Now, there's always that flip side of, we can get caught up in judging how, like, our failure in relationships because we haven't stayed for a long period of time, and that's the whole moralistic aspect of looking at relationships. And also there's the piece where we can leave them prematurely, and that signs of that leaving prematurely can be that there's a lot of rupture still when we leave. It's natural to have grief, but when it's been do we have this very last portion? Thank you so much for this. Oh, you're welcome, Laura. Thank you for being on here. You have done the Venus sequence retreat. Well, there you go. Oh, that's amazing, Judy. So you have been deep in this work. When did you do that?
Last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you have some amazing breakthroughs going through that?
Yeah, I did, but I think possibly I didn't really go all in with it, or, like, I feel as though since coming through this breakup, that the veil lifted and then I could see everything. Whereas when I was in it, I knew, but I still was in denial and avoiding what I actually knew. And I couldn't access that. I was in so much resistance to actually knowing that actually the love that I was desiring needed to come through me. But it was like I was blocked from accessing it.
Yeah. And the beauty of life is that it never gets it wrong. Ever. So you're exactly where you're meant to be, having gone through exactly what you're meant to have gone through to be here in this moment. Yeah. As painful, deeply painful as it might feel.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judy.
Your expression and your shares and your way of teaching. It's been really beautiful, powerful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just saw that Sophia's love it, feeling so grateful for this. Thank you. And Saran looking to diving deep. The beauty of life is it never gets around. Yes. And that when we can open to that life is not testing us, it's trusting us, we can also trust life, because I'm going to diverge here a little bit and lead it back in. The biggest evolution that's available to us in relationship is that to see that we're so busy waging a war on ourselves all the time that's what ends up being reflected in our relationships. We are just constantly at war with ourselves. And when we are constantly at war with ourselves and we are taking ourselves everywhere we go, is my favorite, my personal connotation on life, we take ourselves everywhere we go, then we are waging war with life. We are waging war with others. We are waging war with purpose. We are waging war with our work. We are just constantly in this battle. And it's so exhausting. It's so exhausting feeling tested by everything. Feeling like we've got to defend against everything. There is a gene key 6. It is from the shadow of conflict to the gift city of peace. It's a gift of diplomacy. And the shadow of conflict is we are just so prone to defend because we are at war inside. And we want a world that knows world peace, but we cannot have that until we deeply enter into this emotional revolution inside of ourselves and see all of the places where we are at war with ourselves and with life. Where we are trying to arrogantly force our opinion of the way things are meant to be and how they're meant to look and what outcome we're meant to experience, how much control we're putting in place, so we're missing out on what's actually right in front of us. We're missing out on what love is there. We're so focused on what's not that we can't see what is. And that is the deepest work of going into the gene keys, is that we will know peace inside us, which will experience peace in relationship. Because we stop waging war on ourselves, which means we don't need to go to war with our partner. Hello, Saran's partner. I don't know what your name is, but you're like, your face is right there. I'm like, hey. Please tell me your name. So this is my obsession. Clearly, I hope you've heard that through my voice. And this is what I want to work with this, because I went through this so viscerally in my relationship, and I'm a fucking stand for the where love is possible. This is the work that I'm bringing into the world next with Keezia, is going deep into this Venus sequence. If you can experience what this gave you tonight, this is what we want to go into. And hey, Alex, Keezia and I were going to do a 12-month Master 9, but we've been listening to the women we've been serving and showing up in these free masterclasses, and the feedback has been, we just don't have a 12-month commitment in us at the moment. So we've actually decided to do just a 12-week deep dive into the Venus sequence. We're going to every fortnight go into one sphere at a time. And that's going to be really going into your lines and your gene keys and having the intimacy of layering it all up and having the space to feel that and then share about it and have those breakthroughs in real time, like journeying, because Judy's experience with gene keys, normally they do a month per sphere to allow integration time, and 6 months can also be a really long time. So we're condensing it to 12 weeks, fortnightly calls going into each sphere, because we get to stop fucking fighting ourselves. We get to stop being at war. We get to experience deep, loving, nourishing relationships with other people. And we can do that by meeting ourselves in our Venus sequence. So you will get a follow-up email about Partnership, Our Next Evolution, a 12-week program to go into this, to spend 12 weeks deep diving and learning everything. And like, I'm seeing Alex on the call and I'm loving it, because Keezia and I have actually talked about before, for people who do have partners, we would love there to be opportunity where this isn't an exclusive thing, where the partner can sit on it and they can be learning, and we can be bringing homes into this level of peace. So just letting you know, Alex, if you're on the call, that is available, that we start to bring peace to the world, deep peace. So you will get a follow-up email about that. It is going to be $1,998 for 12 weeks, but early bird is $1,500 until Sunday. So if you're like, I want to go into this more, I want to be held in this space, it's going to be 2 to 3 hour calls every fortnight to give the integration time. That email is going to be coming out. And if you invest before Sunday, there's a payment plan of $500 a month if you invest by Sunday. If you don't and you choose to invest by 16th of July, then it's going to be $666 a month payment plan. So there is a potential to save if you act quickly. But what I want to offer you, because I'm always about further deepening, and Sophia will know this from the last masterclass, is because tonight I didn't speak to your gene key specifically because I gave you the lines and I didn't know how many people would be on the call, and that can chew up a lot of time. Please send a message to me and Keys, like jump in a 3-way chat with us or one of us and we'll add the other. And I will give you your gene key screenshots of your gene key of your purpose if you don't have access to the book at the moment. And I'll share with you about it. I'll add in a bit of a voice note of my experience of it and how it might support you and what could be a breakthrough for you. So jump in and continue this conversation. There's so much available for you, and you're going to get this email about partnership, our next evolution in this 12 weeks. So it's starting 16th of July. It's just, I want to continue doing this. We want to continue doing this. I'm obsessed with it. Keys is obsessed with it, and it just keeps changing our life every day. And we would love to be a part of supporting you all to know more peace, to know more love, to open your heart and have prosperity flow through you, because it's fucking worth it. So worth it. So I hope to be in more conversation with you all. And we still have 10 minutes. So because you're all still here, if you have a particular question, if you want any insight, like, use me. You have 10 minutes to jump in and get time now if you have questions, because you're on the live call. So that's the beauty of this.
Sophia, did you have a question? Did you have something that you wanted to know? I'm sure I can ask something. Where are we? So my purpose is a 4-line, and it's gate or gene key 37.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just like the dynamic within my relationships have really been like how I've operated in my business, which has been very masculine and very, like control, and sometimes from a power over, or sometimes from a, kind of power under, people pleasing kind of way, but very subtly. And so, yeah, I guess being able to really drop in, like the biggest challenge I always felt in the dynamic of our relationship was to feel safe enough to actually really be in that vulnerability, and be in that tenderness, and be in that open-heartedness, when I also felt like I couldn't trust him, and that there was something going on behind the scenes, which there was. Like, he was with another woman for like 4 years.
Yeah.
So any like transmission around kind of that gate, or anything around that gene key, or around
from weakness to tenderness.
Yeah.
I mean, when you first said I have 37.4, my first question was like, well, tell me what your relationship is with softness, with that feminine aspect of receiving and being in that openness and that vulnerability space, because it is ultimately our relationship is a reflection of our own experience and relationship with that energy. So if you then went on to explain that you go into in your business this hyper masculine, controlling, managing, then how safe do you feel being feminine?
I feel like in my business, it's been where a lot of my focus has been to do that, and I have done that. It's a big part of my work and my movement and everything. And of course, there's still more work to do around that. But because I was primarily the main the main income earner, I didn't feel safe to do that in my relationship, but I also didn't really feel safe to do it in my business either. So there's kind of been this tug of war, I guess, you know, between that.
And because nothing is outside of us, and because everything is exactly your attraction, and the dynamic of being the primary breadwinner in your relationship is your attraction, I would say that with that weakness as your shadow to evolve in your purpose, it's still asking you to be honest with yourself in your relationship to the feminine aspect of life and that polarity, because you've magnetized a relationship where you can't, you're telling yourself you can't trust receiving and the tenderness and the openness because you can't, because you have to be the primary breadwinner. So you've manifested an environment and a relationship to reinforce the idea that it would be weak to let go or to soften, because that wouldn't be safe because you can't.
Yeah.
Totally. So that would be my input. And then I would ask you, because it's always all building, what is your attraction line?
Attraction line's 2, so 9.2.
So lust and passion is your journey.
Yeah.
So because an archetype of, so you would have come into a relationship with your partner full hot and heavy, full yeah,
it's always been like that. Like I haven't actually been very conscious in my decisions at all.
Yeah.
All of my relationships, actually, it's always really lustful and passionate and like a lot, you know, like a lot of that, which just overrides everything. And then any red flags or anything was just like, I ignored. So I even look back to 11 years. Yeah, like when, similar to you, we met, there was that, and then not less than a year later, I was pregnant. So like that's what I was saying. I really relate to a lot of what you shared.
Yeah.
In your story, and but anyway, I want to blame him.
Yeah.
So,
because it hurts.
Yeah.
And because the story that will come with that hurt is even more perpetuating of the fact that you can't surrender into, like, it's weak to be trusting. It's weak to be vulnerable. It's weak to believe that it could have been all great because look where it got you. So there's still, and that's that denial. So because your denial is so strong in that core wound, but it's that denial keeps trying to bring you back into seeing where you have demonized that tender part of you and made it weak because it's made you unsafe. What is your gene key of your core?
Is 18.
Remind me what 18 is.
So the shadow's judgment, integrity, and perfection.
Judgment and opinion.
Yeah, like so much self-judgment, massively. Oh, and of him as well.
Yeah. Which coupled with the denial, that is, I can see why it felt safer to see the depths of it in separation than while you were in it. Yeah. I reckon there's some beautiful breakthroughs still for you with that weakness key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. And if you have the course already, because you've journeyed it with Richard, then looking at that core and really, because the gift of denial is ease.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to come naturally. It's meant to easy is right. That's all the archetype of the line too. So there is such an ease available to you here. And that's that piece where I talked about the pathway of the question of what would my life look like without suffering. Struggle is real, so real. It is the pathway of evolution, is to struggle. Suffering isn't real. And I know that's a bold as fuck claim. And I know it's my lived experience that suffering is the way we keep perpetuating pain.
Yeah, it's the choices that we make around, the stories we tell and holding
And
on.
yeah, and just it's that self-love piece that we just don't believe we're lovable.
Yeah, that I really resonated massively with that, what you shared. Like that's a huge piece for me to go and sit with and be with. Yeah.
And we suffer because of it. So big.
Yeah. Thanks, Emma.
You're welcome, Judy. Saran or Sophia, does anyone want, or Alex, does anyone want to ask a question before we jump off?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your love and your wisdom and your mastery.
Thank you so much, Alex, for that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. It's beautiful to receive your wisdom. And yeah, we're really excited to drop deeper. So I'll send you a message after the call and we'll chat.
Sounds amazing. Can't wait. So replay will get sent to you, and there will be a follow-up email about partnership, our next evolution, if you want to continue to deep dive. As always, there is never any attachment that you can't have anything to do with us, because you're not going to. Like, just keep leaning in, and just keep leaning in. I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you for being with me on this call tonight. Stop sharing. Thank you for tolerating my visuals. And I'll see you around in Messenger, I hope and I pray. See you later.